All power. I guess we can get this started.
All power to the people, comrades. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
All power to the revolution. Let's get it going.
All right, I will play the intro music and then we'll go right into intros. All power to the people. Today we're going to be discussing how to spot cointelpro tactics with Chairman Shaka Zulu of the new Afrikan Black Panther Party. Chairman, do you want to introduce yourself?
All power to the people. First, I want to thank the comrades for inviting me to this wonderful program and to broach a subject that I think is needed sorely in the leftist movement, at least an understanding of how the enemy operates. So I'm the chairman of the new Afrikan Black Panther Party, and I'm also a member of the United Panther Movement. All power to the people.
All power.
All power. I would assume at this point that all of you know me. My name is Rob. Zen and I have been doing For We Are Many podcasts since the January 6th insurrection was our first show. We are both active members of the United Panther Movement. I am also the Minister of Education for the White Panther Party.
And I'm the Minister of Human Rights.
All right. I guess, Chairman, if you want to just, kick us off.
All power to the people. So I think one of the most important subject matters that we have to pay attention to is cointelpro. And not all of what it done to weaken and diffuse the revolutionary movement and the worker, peasant, or worker lumpen cooperation needed to overthrow the imperialist system. There's some basic points that we can point out that the enemy state, going all the way back to the first socialist revolution that was committed by the Bolsheviks under the great V.I. Lenin. And there was a cat who was a revolutionary journalist. He was also an organizer in the underground, and his name was Victor Surge. And he wrote a piece on what revolutionaries should know about the enemy state. And in that piece, he laid out a number of tactics that the enemy state employed to infiltrate, disrupt, and or liquidate the whole organization. Now the FBI read that manual, and it's their job to read that manual. They are scientists, political police of the enemy state. And one of the tactics that they employed that was successful was the infiltration into our ranks, not just petty bourgeois ideas, but this ultra leftist idea that we can seize power simply by engaging in military tactics against the state. The other part of that ultra-rightist tendency was to abandon the Serve the People programs and to go into electoral politics. Now, all of that consolidates the enemy state. Now, what is the function of a political police? The political police job is not to repress. Catch that. The political police job is not to repress right away. Their job is to acquire information so they can repress later on. So that's what cointelpro has done. It has allowed us to walk around as if we are under constitutional revolutionary protection from this enemy state. And this is one of the tragic moments, at least in the last 4 years, talking about the new Afrikan Black Panther Party and the disruptions and the age of provocateurs. This is one of the tragic lessons that we have to always be mindful of, that cointelpro don't look to repress right away. They look to get information. That's what they want, information. All power to the people.
All power. Comrade Zen, you got anything to add to that? I mean, I really don't either. That was pretty spot on as usual. What about everybody in the comments? Does anybody have any questions for the chairman? And obviously, like, we've been there through some of the things that you're talking about, and I mean, it kind of caught all damn it, it caught all of us off guard because we didn't really know what to look out for. So over the past like few years, in terms of encountering cointelpro tactics, whether it be division or whether it be people that seem dedicated to stagnating the movement, how do we get better at recognizing those things, and how do we combat that?
All power to the people. Let me say this for comrades that just are coming into a revolutionary study. This is not the first disruption. This is not the first record crew that was inserted into a revolutionary organization. The job of a disruptor is to wear the politics of a revolutionary while at the same time creating space by which they can create division. That's a disruptor. And one of the things that we as a revolutionary organization, because we're not a vanguard group, we are a pre-vanguard group. One of the things that we as a pre-vanguard group did not take into serious consideration was the idea that the enemy could easily insert into our ranks cats that just came out of the prison but knew revolutionary rhetoric but did not abandon their lumpen values or their lumpen cultural attachment to material things. We did not see that. We did not see the enemy could use someone who could talk the talk of a revolutionary. but it's really a disruptor. That's the lumping side of it. But the dialectical other side is the petty bourgeois thing. When we had that conference here at my house in 2019, we brought into our ranks a whole different organization made up of different ideological tendencies. People were part of different political ideological spectrums. And out of that came a whole bunch of individuals that did not understand the discipline of party ideology, the discipline of Panther love, the discipline of camaraderie. And they engaged in behavior that was counter-revolutionary. Now, let me say something, comrades. You don't have to go to the FBI office and say, sign me up so I can infiltrate. You could be what we call an unconscious breeder of infiltration. What is an unconscious breeder of infiltration? That is someone who is always pessimistic. That is someone who is always breeding doubt into our struggle. That is someone who is always on a negative end of any kind of solution to a problem in our movement. The negative, pessimistic individual is an unbreeding, unconscious breeder of disruption. Think what I'm saying. You don't have to sign a paper to be a disruptor. You could come into the rank and say, well, I'm entitled to this status because of my white skin. Now we got this thing going. We got this thing coherent ideologically, politically, socially. We with the masses of the people. We living with the people, organizing with the people, struggling with the people. And you come into the ranks and say, well, I just graduated from Columbia University. You know, I deserve some kind of privilege. My white skin entitles me that. What are you doing? You're creating division. The same can be said of a brother who come out of prison because he read books, because he battled the enemy in the prison system, because he took some lumps thrown in solitary cells. And those are noble sacrifices that the prisoner take on within a totalitarian system. But that don't entitle you to privilege within the revolutionary movement. All of us have to see that any little bit we can contribute moves the collective struggle forward. So if I'm a writer, I'm going to go ahead and write. If you are a speaker, you go ahead and orate. If you're an organizer, you get in that community with your pen and pad and you try to ascertain what the people need. If you're a singer, then sing the songs of freedom. If you're a dancer, then dance the dance of war against the imperialists. There are ways in which all of us can fulfill our tasks, from each according to their ability, to each according to their needs. But that comes through a decentralized process. That comes through what we call in revolutionary parlance a division of labor. So what I'm saying, brothers and sisters, yeah, we all been tested. Lenin was tested. Remember the split in 1905, where Lenin said that, man, I am totally upset, dejected at some of my comrades who are fleeing because the czarist state was able to crush the movement in 1905. Some went back to becoming academics. Some went back to journalism. Some went back to real estate. Some went back to collaborating with the enemy state because they said, we can't win. We can have a legal counter-revolution. And Lenin said, hold, you could go ahead yourself if you want to collaborate with the enemy, but we're going to stick to our ideology. We're going to stick to our principles. We're going to stick to the structure of our organization. So let me tell you, comrades, we have stuck to our ideology. We have stuck to the structure of our organization. Yeah, we're small, but our mouthpiece is huge. Our political reach is huge. They know of us across the country, not because of who I am or because of who you are, but because of the political work we put in, the social practice of Pantherism, enable people around the country to say these cats are trying. They're trying. They may not get it right the first time or the second time, but a fall in the pit is a gain in the wit. So the agent provocateur, he is a scientist. His job is to ascertain your name, the name of the organization, the bank account where the members send their dues, the donors, the stash houses. His job is to ascertain all of that stuff and then at some point disrupt it. Disrupt it. But the unconscious breeder is what we have in the movement today. That is a person who put identity politics above social politics, which means that collectively we are better putting our struggles forward than we are in our own individual silos. So that's what I wanted to say, brothers and sisters. Today we're dealing with a different kind of cointelpro. They're still there, but the tactics they're using is different. Think about all those cats they arrested in Atlanta under the RICO statute. You don't think they had no agents there? You don't think they had no disruptors there? They wouldn't have been able to arrest 60 people in one house if they did not know the names of the organization, if they did not know the names of the membership, if they did not know where they slept at, if they did not know what they eat, their habits, their likes, their dislikes. The enemy knew where they was at. The enemy knew all of them because it's their scientific duty to ascertain who we are. So at the appointed hour, they can crush us. They want information, and they had all of that. That's why they was able to make the move that they did. We don't like it. We consider it counter-revolutionary, a counter-insurgency tactic, but that's a part of the enemy's job, their political apparatus. The state balance is there for a reason. It's there to protect the interests of the rich and powerful. So the unconscious breeder is what we have to be aware of today in our movement. And I come to this term after studying what will make a person say I am a comrade today, but tomorrow turn into a vicious, diabolical wrecker of an organization that he or she pledged their loyalty to. And the answer I can only give is there is a responsibility, a part of the revolutionists to bring the consciousness of other people and comrades up to the standard so which they can understand how the enemy state operates. So no, the last 4 years have been a treasure trove from which we can spring back stronger, with more integrity, more love, more ideological coherence. We can understand better the tactics that the enemy used because we've seen it firsthand. We've been through it firsthand. And then ask yourselves, brothers and sisters, why would the enemy attack us? We are small. We don't have a reach across this country like some of these other groups do. The reason is because of our commitment, our determination, our ideological and political line. The enemy know that we deviate from that, we're done. But if we stick to that, we are willing to endure the quagmire of disruption. We're willing to endure the agent provocateurs who come in our midst only to sing the songs of sedition. We're willing to endure the locking up of our comrades under false, bogus charges because we're united by a higher ideal of love, and that is supreme unity. And that's what we get when we understand how cointelpro operates. Forget about the fact that it plays people off against one another. Forget about the fact that it attacked the Panther Party 297 times out of 300 total cointelpro attacks against the left movement in the late 1960s and 70s. Think about that. Ask yourself, go back and read cointelpro documents. Out of 300 attacks leveled by counterintelligence, 297 was against the Black Panther Party itself. Why? It's because they had a class analysis, an anti-imperialist stance. They formed alliances with other groups. They put their word to practice. And that's one thing the enemy hates more than anything else, is putting our word to practice as revolutionaries. So that's what we have to be on the lookout for, the unconscious breeder. And that could be the person that you go to sleep with at night. That could be the person you hang out with during the day. You might want to go and pass out some literature. And this person may say, oh man, let's go down to this disco. So you can see how the unconscious breeder brings separation and division. But you and I, who have experienced this, should be aware of those who come in the form of revolutionary politics, but deep down are really there to tear asunder anything that we have built. And that's very important. All power to the people.
All power to the people. Yeah, I think that there's a lot of what you've just talked, we've literally learned over the last couple of years. I wouldn't even say the last 4 for me because I wasn't here for 4 years, but we've seen a lot of what you're talking about just in the last year. Do you have anything to add to that, Comrade Zen?
Not that I can think of, Chairman Shaka. You look pretty concise.
I see Minister Richard in the comments. Welcome. All power.
All power.
Do you have any?
Let me go into this piece on counterinsurgency and how we can see some of its intentions if we pay close attention. And I'm going to give a broad analysis, nothing specific, but I'm going to pull from revolutionary movements around the world to substantiate my point.
Would you mind turning your camera on, Comrade?
Well,
I mean, if you can't, it's cool. I was just
it's
kind of funny that everybody's just watching us while you're talking. That's all.
Oh, power to the people. No, I apologize for that. Yeah, I'm not in a position. Next time I will. I apologize.
It's all good.
One of the things that I want to talk about is this idea that we can succeed individually as organizations, or as what Robertson called an island unto ourselves. Now, all of us, when we study revolutionary politics, whether we are on the brown beret, whether we are in the new Afrikan Black Panther Party, whether we are part of another mass-based organization. When we study, we do that not because we want to become intelligent, not because we want to broadcast our understanding of Das Kapital. We do that because it's a guiding, it's a compass. It points us to who are our comrades and other revolutionary groups. We look to unite all of those who have a leftist orientation And when we unite those who have a leftist orientation, we isolate those who have a rightist orientation. So this is the function we're at right now. I know we need to sink deep roots in the masses. We need to go among the people, live among the people, and struggle with the people, eat with the people, and fight with the people. That's a universal principle. We can't get away from that. But at some point, we have to institute a rectification campaign within the organization so we can patch up the holes that the enemy used to divide us. And we patch up those holes by saying to other organizations, look, man, we ain't trying to control you. We believe in this principle of self-determination. Some of us are more militant than you are. Some of us are more active than you are. But that doesn't grant us any special category. It only means that we are in the struggle, and when we are in the struggle, we look for allies that can help us when we fall. We look for comrades and other organizations that can help us when we fall. And one of the things that you and I must learn is that self-determination is a real thing. It's a real thing. V.I. Lenin and other revolutionaries did not come up with this principle because it was an academic exchange of ideas. Self-determination means that you have the right to control your political, economic, social, and cultural determination of future. It means that for oppressed, exploited people under settler colonialism, no other group have the right to tell another revolutionary group how they should conduct themselves as revolutionaries because they have a different ideological line. We are Marxist, Leninist, Maoists. We make no claim to hide in that. We broadcast our ideas everywhere. But within the last 4 years, brothers and sisters and comrades and enemies, because I know they're listening too, the pre-Vanguard Party has undercut our responsibility. We have allowed the snakes to hiss within our ranks without engaging the snake. We put the snake in positions of power so that they can bite us when they were healed. But we're not here to cast aspersions. We should learn from that. When I say you are my comrade, I am saying I'm marching with you when you are feeble. I'm marching with you when you are strong. I'm putting my life in your hands. I'm saying that my ideological and political commitment to you is above my commitment to my wife, who is not a revolutionary, or to my sister, who is not a revolutionary. It's that sociological thing, brothers and sisters. We have a different political and ideological line. And because people do not understand self-determination, do not understand Marxism, Leninism, Maoism, do not understand democratic centralism, do not understand the separation of a mass base and a vanguard organization. They have imposed upon us their petty bourgeois ideas. And where those ideas did not sink roots within our committees, they conspired behind the scenes to slander us, deny us our role as a revolutionary organization. They sought to call us names. They sought to disparage our ideological and political line. Oh, No, now that I'm not a part of that group no more, I abandoned revolutionary intercommunalism. That thing was weird anyway. I abandoned that thing. No longer, now that they're no longer a part of us. That's opportunism. That's opportunism. So the unconscious breeder is that cat who wants his way despite evidence showing that his way is the road of collaboration. His way is on the road of selloutism. His way is on the road of counter-revolution. And when the whole organization opposes that, you have individuals appointing themselves as the judge, jury, and executioner of individuals within the new Afrikan Black Panther Party. They don't know you. They don't know me. They never talk to you. They never talk to me. But it was the unconscious breeders behind the scenes whispering in their ear that Shaka Zulu, that Zulu Sharad, isn't he something? Coming out of prison, he went there for robbing and stealing. Yeah, I bet you he's still doing some of that stuff. That's the unconscious breeder telling another comrade. That's disruption. Disruption. And then you have the flip side, the petty bourgeois individual. And Lord knows we have dealt with a lot of that in the last 4 years. I can name a number of organizations, excuse me, brothers and sisters. We have aligned, we have aligned ourselves with, only to find out when the grass was cut low, the snake head definitely showed. But we shouldn't be bitter. There's nothing to be dispirited about. There's nothing to be paranoid about. This is the apparatus of the enemy power structure. They want you to lose your morale. They want you to feel burdened by the necessities under capitalism to survive. They want you to deviate from the norms of revolutionary activity. They want you to feel alienated. Those are the tactics of the enemy power structure. That's the new cointelpro. They have 1,000 different pigs today than they had in 1970. They got 16 intelligence agencies in the United States. All of them cooperate under what do they call the Division of Intelligence. Then you have hundreds of thousands of police forces in uniform across the country. You have probably more wearing hip-hop clothes, wearing Timberland boots, singing rap songs. This new breed of police is different from the 60s and 70s. They could come amongst you knowing the language of the resistance. They could come amongst you wearing the Palestinian national scarf. They could come amongst you talking that Huey P. Newton philosophy. They could come amongst you wearing their hair long, wearing that white beret. They could come amongst you and throw the first stone at a McDonald's, knowing that the masses are upset, knowing that the masses are discontent. And they throw that first stone, knowing the masses is going to follow. And that's a police officer. That's their based on fact. What I just said in Minneapolis, it was a police officer that threw a stone at a Wendy's and then set it on fire while everybody stood back, waiting for the moment to attack. But this police officer had on what the black uniform, or what the black comrades wear, all black. So what I'm saying, brothers and sisters, we have to learn these lessons. But these lessons shall only make us stronger. All power to the people.
All power. Minister Richard asked in the comments, was it easier for NABPP to root these conscious breeders out when it was a revolutionary prison chapter? All power.
Great question. Great question. All power to the people. I remember Comrade Minister Richard reading what they had in prison when I was there, the intelligence files. These intelligence files were collected by the prison guard or the investigative gang unit at the prison. And in these files, this is when I became politically conscious and I was searching, looking, trying to discover my footing as a revolutionary. And I read these internal files at Trenton State Prison. And one of the things that stood out to me, the enemy said, we know everything that the prisoner does on a day-to-day basis. Not just the general prisoner, which they were talking about, the apolitical cat, but the political prisoner, the one who inspires behind the scenes. And that blew my mind. And I said, wow, how could the enemy know so much about the new African George Jackson Brigade, which was the group I was a part of while in Trenton State Prison? Let me tell you, when they found a gun up in Trenton State Prison on the 4th floor in C Block, I was a budding revolutionary, a part of the new African George Jackson Brigade. And I said to myself, how the hell did someone get a gun in the prisoner's kitchen? And what were their intentions? And then other revolutionaries explained to me this phenomenon of illegal capitalism. And these particular organizations masqueraded under the cover of cultural nationalist politics, revolutionary nationalist politics, and Panther politics. And then I discovered in the document that the gun was given to, and I'm not going to put out any kind of information on this individual. The gun was given to the individual by a guard, a reactionary right-wing guard, a Trump supporter. And so the only conclusion I was left with was this cat or a number of counter-revolutionary cats was going to commit murder of the revolutionaries in the block I was a part of. Because that whole block, you were either Muslim, militant Muslims, leaders of street organizations, or straight up revolutionary. And so out of all of that, Minister, and I'm going to answer your question, came the new Afrikan Black Panther Party. Because we had to split. We had to split from the counter-revolutionary stuff that precipitated a lot of the mistakes that we made as revolutionaries in Trenton State Prison. And when we split, I developed relationships with other revolutionaries across the country that enabled us to establish what we call in the movement secure communication. So we was able to send out information to cats in Red Onion State Prison, cats in California prison system, in the Southern prison system. We did it through our newspaper, but we also did it via word of mouth because we had outside people that would come and support us. And we would say, hey, man, I can't get my letter out because the pigs are going to open and read it. So I'm going to give you my message verbally and you just ship it to such and such, such. That's a profound construction by the prisoner class to invade the prison citizenship. But no, it was not hard once I became known as a revolutionary to communicate. But that's only reserved for cats who have outside support. Most revolutionaries behind the wall are poor, alone, don't have no support, and live in their dream that one day this enemy system could be overthrown so the prison doors can be flown wide open. Barring that, brothers and sisters, a lot of those nameless, faceless revolutionaries in the prison system are going to die. They're going to die without me and you knowing them. They don't have to just be in Trenton. I'm talking about San Quentin, Folsom. I'm talking about Stateville in Illinois. I'm talking about that wonderful, beautiful struggle going on in Alabama against the vicious prison system there. The brothers and sisters are putting up a mighty, heroic struggle for their rights, just to be recognized as a human being. This enemy government, its philosophers, its thinkers, and its scientists go all over the world saying we have the answer to your poverty. Well, first of all, the revolutionary or the wise brothers and sisters are going to say, you created my poverty. So now you have an answer for my poverty? They would say, excuse me, pass the hacksaw and also pull out V.I. Lenin's What Is to Be Done. So we could go ahead and move against this counter-revolutionary with some determination. So that's where we at, brothers and sisters. It's not hard to communicate in prison if you're organized. It only becomes hard when you want to engage in foolishness. But for a revolutionary, our life have always been hard, whether you are on the streets or inside the enemy prison walls. I hope I answered your question, Minister. All power to the people.
All power. Thank you, Chairman Shaka. Checking through here to see if there's any other questions yet in the chat.
Richard said that you answered his question very much so. Do we have any other questions for the chairman, or I don't know, I guess any comments or... I mean, I really don't. This has been a very good discussion, though. I feel like you've hit every point that I wanted to ask a question about.
Well, one thing I'd like to ask is how these tactics, the things you see happening differently now, how they've changed since COINTELPRO was first brought to the table to, combat the community work original Panthers were doing today?
All power to the people. Well, I think for the most part, the skeleton of cointelpro remains the same. That is to disrupt, isolate, contain, diffuse, weaken the revolutionary thrust against the imperialist state. The main function of the skeleton body is its military, police, intelligence agencies, which protects the 1%, the dominant class. That remains the same. That's not going to change. That's just the way the state is set up, the capitalist state, which is merely an executive that balances the various differences of the ruling class. That's all the state is. What you and I, as revolutionaries, have to pay attention to, and I spoke to it earlier, was this idea of privilege that people come into our movements with out of the colleges and lumping values that the street cat or the prisoner come into our movement with. Now, let me say that all of us carry a sort of political baggage when we come into the movement because we are psychologically conditioned from birth by the political, economic, social, and cultural tentacles of the capitalist state to be nothing but capitalists. All of us are conditioned like that. Even a baby sees something on TV after his mother or father have shown them a number of times, becomes attracted to it. That's the subliminal thing. But here's where things have changed. It's no longer H. Rap Brown or Jamil Alameen, Fred Hampton, Assata Shakur, Malcolm X, or Martin Luther King that are the principal drivers of revolutionary change in our communities. What have replaced them are the nonprofit leaders, the NGO leaders, the movement celebrities. These individuals who take endorsements from Ford to sell a Cadillac to us is the new kind of unconscious breeder of capitalism. Or the Black Lives Matter leadership, the Patrice Cullors that brought in millions and millions of dollars and spent it on mansions, cars, and visiting boutique stores in Hollywood. But using the language of resistance to mask her unconscious or their unconscious, and in some instances, deliberate destruction of the unity of the movement needed to leverage against the enemy power structure. So we have to be aware of those cats that come with an academic understanding of the struggle, not be paranoid, but say, you know what? Let me see you put some of that into practice. You talk a big talk, but let me see you get out there and sink deep roots in the people. Let me see you sacrifice that $100,000. Not all of it, because I know you need to survive, but send some to a revolutionary group that is starving to put out a newspaper, that can't get their food program running, that can't send $25 or $50 to a prisoner. Because all of us revolutionaries, we're poor. We don't live off the capitalist enemy state. We live collectively through the practice of socialism, collectivity. What I want for you, I want for me. I am we is an African proverb. I am we. That means you and I are one. We're the same. Once we have adopted a revolutionary mindset, we also have to be aware of what the FBI called the Black Extremist Index, the BIE. This is really a program of the FBI where they said that the most desperate, the most hungry, the most downtrodden blacks are capable of revolutionary potential if they can get beyond their differences. And they have used the BIE or the Black Identity Extremist Desk to arrest comrades in the movement. I'm thinking right now of Rakeem Balagoon out of Texas, who started the Huey P. Newton Gun Club. He was the first one arrested under a fake gun charge. Spent 8 months in prison until the FBI said, well, we can't find the gun. So these are tactics they're using to continue the old and tired trope of divide and conquer. So no, comrade, Minister Zen, we just have to be vigilant, practice secure communication. We have to love on our comrades. We have to practice criticism and self-criticism. And we have to be willing to combat liberalism. That will save us from infiltration. That will save us from dissipation. And that will help speed on liberation. So it's a matter of looking at what they use to divide us and coming up with a way we could overcome that. And putting in place future arrangements to prevent the enemy from disrupting our work, which is to serve the people. All power to the people.
All power to the people. In the comments, Marasana said, most of us don't see the point because the state is too powerful. I'm assuming that's in reference to organizing. And I replied in the comments, but I want to hear your thoughts on this too. But I said, our goal isn't to go out tomorrow and overthrow the state, but to build conditions where a revolution becomes possible. But yeah, if you want to elaborate on that at all.
All power to the people. No, I think when I think about how to answer that question, I have to go back to American slavery and what my ancestors and what the indigenous Indians were saying to themselves when that pilgrim came with the sword and the rifle. And they invited that Englishman or woman for a meal. And then the next month they came 2 at a time, and then 10 at a time, and then hundreds at a time. And they set themselves up as a new government in the image and form of England. What did Sitting Bull say when he encountered the colonist, the settler? What did Nat Turner say where he encountered the settler? What did the brothers and sisters of Haiti say when they had to go up against France? That mighty empire second only to England. They said, give me liberty or give me death. In the voice of Patrick Henry. They did not care about no goddamn odds or how powerful the slave system was. They said that my humanity is worth standing on my feet than living on my knees. I am a man, I am a woman, and I have the right to live my life in such fashion. And they had rebellions all over America. Hundreds of years of blacks breaking the tools of the slave master. Hundreds of years of the indigenous brothers and sisters forming themselves into fighting armies to get a little bit of their land back. And what are the political prisoners are saying? That you may idolize, brother or sister, sitting in that cell, decade after decade, no family, no human touch. What are they saying? America is too powerful. Because America is too powerful, we must do as Americans do? Or are they saying that what little I can contribute may lead to the eventual downfall of Babylon tomorrow, or 5 years from now, or 10 years from now? It's not a matter of how strong a thing is because it's been around a certain amount of time. Actually, a thing that has been around for a certain amount of time is actually weak compared to the new thing that's coming into existence. The socialist revolution in the 21st century is a new thing, a new kind of thing, where we're dealing with the urban revolution and not the countryside. We're coming up against a declining racist capitalist system. It's declining because fascism, we're seeing its face, is everywhere. The Democrats hate the Republicans hate the Democrats. The independents hate both of them. The so-called revolutionary don't know which way to stand. The dollar bill is not as strong as it used to be, especially considering you got BRICS coming into existence, which is Eastern countries along with some Latin American countries. They're establishing a new currency that'll be backed by gold, not the might of the United States Air Force. So we're seeing a declining American empire. There's poverty everywhere. There's homelessness everywhere. There's crime in the streets. There are people who have degrees sleeping right now on Skid Row in California, under the bridges of Newark, in the shanty towns of Kensington, Philadelphia. Wages have stagnated. Austerity is the order of the day. So no, your empire of power is our paper tiger. We don't see the United States as being all powerful because it can blow a village up, because it can send its nuclear bomb and drop it on a defenseless people. That don't intimidate the revolutionary because no power is stronger than the people. So yeah, United States runs the world on an international level. But if we could get ourselves together, if we could revolutionarily, intercommunally lock arms with Africa, with Latin America, with the brothers and sisters of other organizations in this country, wow, we'll have a mighty power that will offset this Babylonian, draconian power that we're dealing with, brother. So no, United States is not powerful. United States has the appearance of power. That's why every time they go to war, they lose when they fight by themselves. Name one war, since they're so powerful, they have won by themselves, not in coalition with Canada and France, with Germany, with Britain. Name one war the United States undertook and successfully conquered the people by itself. Name it. One war. I can name a dozen the United States attempted to win in consolidation with other countries around the world, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. But when you chip out its power, what did they say, comrade, about the breakfast program? What did they say about the shoe program? What did they say about the ambulance program? They said these things are the great single threat to our power if the people get organized. So the United States, yeah, has the appearance of power, but the people are stronger. And we are determined in this lifetime to make sure everyone understands that we can get not one iota further without locking arms as brothers and sisters in a serious, committed alliance to tell our oppressor the days of dividing us are over. All power to the people.
All power to the people.
Power.
We got a question from Comrade Joe. He said, what actions shall we take when we think someone shows COINTEL traits? Then when we find out a particular individual is COINTEL?
All power to the people. So I'm going to rely on a document that we put together a number of years ago, and it's verbatim, but now I'm going to read. Well, I'm going to read a part of it to answer Comrade Joe's question. An object lesson from the past. One of the successful tactics used in the FBI's counterintelligence program of disruption of the old Black Panther Party was its use of brown mail. Private correspondence purported to be from leading or rank and file party members or supporters authored by FBI agents, imitating the handwriting of those people and mail from the appropriate city. Catch that, brothers and sisters. In particular, the feds, the political police, set out to drive a wedge between two of the party's leading members, the Minister of Defense, Huey P. Newton, and the Minister of Information, Eldridge Cleaver, who was then in exile in Algeria. Instead of turning this mail over to the party's chairman, Bobby Seale, for internal investigation of apparent attempts at one, factualization, and to check out the allegations they contain. Two, these leaders kept the brown mail secret, believing the lies contained by the FBI. These leaders kept the brown mail secret, believing that their positions were reinforced by what they believed to be other comrades in the Black Panther Party, but it was the FBI saying, yeah, Eldridge Cleaver, man, I'm down with you, man. I think y'all should pick up guns. Forget about the breakfast program. You can't liberate nobody like that. And instead of Eldridge Cleaver going to Huey Newton and saying, listen, man, I just got some mail, some brown mail. That's what we call it in the movement. I don't know what's up with it. Did you write this? Or instead of Huey P. Newton saying, listen, man, let's have a Central Committee meeting. I just got some mail saying Stokely Carmichael was a snitch, or H. Rat Brown was this, or the Panther 21 was this. Instead of Huey P. Newton taking that information to the Central Committee, he expelled everybody. So what I'm saying, brothers and sisters, we have to be mindful of communication is the antidote to isolation. Communication within the ranks of the movement is the antidote to division. It's the antidote to alienation. It's the antidote to speculation. It's the antidote to segregation of ideas. Why is it the antidote? When I communicate, I inform. When you communicate, you inform. And that's the thing the enemy don't like, when we talk amongst one another, because ideas come out. And when ideas come out, we're able to come up with solutions to the problems we're dealing with. So no, when someone come to you, brother, and say, I don't like you, comrade, I don't like Comrade Rob, instead of you holding it, sister, you should say, let me bring this to my leadership. Let me talk to my committee. Let me bring this information to the appropriate body within the revolutionary organization. But if you hold it in, you keep it to yourself. And when you get into a disagreement, now you want to write a long dissertation on Facebook saying this person was bad, this person was this. But that's FBI information, and you don't even know you're passing it on because you're an unconscious breeder. So no, communication is the antidote to the enemy's tactics of divide and conquer. And I'm going to finish this point right here, Comrade Rob, answering your question.
Okay.
The party was eventually split apart as each carried their line differences to extremes. Instead of struggling for reconciliation through inner party democracy, other members were summarily expelled and declared, quote, enemies of the people, unquote, based upon information from the counterintelligence program. Commandism replaced democratic centralism. Alliances were sabotaged, and masses of people, party members, and supporters quit in confusion and disgust at the bitter infighting and paranoid generated. Where did this come from? The infighting, the paranoia. That stuff comes from outside the revolutionary movement. No revolutionary group, whether they end up on a capitalist road or they take this thing all the way, become all the way revolutionaries, go into this thing thinking that they're going to become a counter-revolutionary. All of us have a good intention. Good intention. But good intention lead revolutionaries to prison cells. Good intention lead revolutionaries to firing squads, to death penalties, to being fired from your job. The voices within.
You still there, comrade?
The police, our enemy, have acquired at sowing division. They're scientists. That's their job. We cannot underestimate them. So let me just say, in conclusion, and answering Comrade Joe's question, we have to steel ourselves, comrades. We have to be strong. We have to endure. We have to have courage. And we cannot worry about what they're going to do to us. And we can't, like the comrade said, make these big statements that the enemy is too powerful. Automatically, we hand our people's victory over to the power structure when we say stuff like that, because it develops a defeatist mentality. It weakens your resolve to stand up. If you got someone standing next to you saying, man, we can't beat City Hall. Man, we can't compete with Bill Gates. Man, what can we do against the Marines? They got all those guns, those big F-16, F-15 fighting planes. Man, what can we do against the economic system? We don't even produce our own clothes. All of that are counter-revolutionary ideas once you become a revolutionary. We know those ideas are prevalent amongst the people. That's why we have to go amongst the people with a clipboard and a pen and ascertain the ideas that most interest the people and come back, systematize those ideas like we have in our 10-point program and go back among the people and say, can you get with free health care? Can you get with the need to stop police brutality? Can you get with the need to have decent housing? What about taking control of our community and turning that property into cooperatives so that the masses of the people in the community benefit? That's the job of a revolutionary, to go amongst the people and ascertain that. But once you have become a revolutionary, committed to the struggle and all the way proponent of this enemy system, there's no excuses. We don't want to hear no despondency. We don't want to hear no pessimism, because we are imbued with the spirit of resistance. We are imbued with the spirit of love, people's love, like Che Guevara talked about. Like Huey P. Newton said, we're not motivated by hate, we're motivated by great love. And we don't need nobody coming in our ranks to start a toxic relationship, bringing despondency, plaguing us with stagnation, plaguing us with infighting, plaguing us with lumping values, plaguing us with petty bourgeois ideas. We don't need that in the ranks. All we need is a little love and some practice of revolutionary politics. Let's keep that in command. Revolutionary politics. Keep it in command when we talk to the boss at work. Revolutionary politics. Keep it in command when you talk to that cat on the street corner. Revolutionary politics. Keep it in command when you are walking to the store to purchase some bread. Revolutionary politics. Keep it in command when you are upset at your wife at home, or you sister are upset at your husband at home. Keep it in command. Revolutionary politics. Keep it in command. If you keep it in command, it will help command your politics. And what are your politics that you need to command? And that is this enemy system built on capitalism, settler, colonialism, and capitalism can only be overthrown with the collective might and power of the people. And on that note, brothers and sisters, I want to say all power to the people.
All power to the people.
All power.
Um,
All
you
power.
just you just touched on infighting, and there's a question that I wanted to bring up next that is kind of directly about infighting. Why do I hear from communists that anarchists are prone to becoming counter-revolutionaries?
All power to the people. That's a good question. Let me answer that briefly. Again, I got to get up out of here, comrades, brothers and sisters. Why do I hear from communists that anarchists are prone to becoming counter-revolutionaries? But think about it this way. Ask yourself or name one country in the world that anarchism, its philosophy, had liberated the people from the traditions of exploitation and oppression. I'm going to wait. If anyone can name one country that anarchists have liberated by themselves, I can name a dozen that communists have liberated, standing alone, proletarian ideology, sharp like a knife, going up against the oppressor's ideology, whether it's autocracy or so-called democracy. The communist idea is known all over the world to be a battering ram of liberation, whereas anarchism or the anarchists have a history of betrayal, a history of going some of the way. And we have a whole lot of history to rely on. I'm not making this stuff up. Go back to the Spanish War in the 1930s in Spain, where Franco, the dictator, lost power, was on the cusp of losing power. The communists liberated city after city. City after city, it was the communists in Spain, and the anarchists backing them up. But when the guns of counter-revolution descended upon that poor communists who couldn't reach out to the Comintern in the USSR, when the bombs of counter-revolution descended upon those brothers and sisters, it was the anarchists that ran to Franco and said, let's make a deal. And the same thing could be said in socialist Russia. Who do you think those socialist revolutionaries were? The SRs. They organized in the countryside. They were anarchists. Well, you don't have to stay there. Go to Italy, the headquarters of anarchism today. And ask yourselves, what have the Black Bloc done to liberate space for a homeless brother and sister that just got evicted? What have Black Bloc done to knock down the prison wall so the real dragons can fly out? What have Black Bloc done to build serve the people programs in the oppressed communities so they become instruments of contention against the enemy system? So the question is not necessarily, do anarchism itself lead to counter-revolution? The ideology itself leads to collaboration with the enemy state after you have thrown some rocks at Citibank, or after you have throwing a tomato at Carlos Slim or Warren Buffett. Now what you going to do? You done spray your name on a wall. You put some graffiti on the wall. You done knock the windows out of Starbucks. Now what you going to do? So the very nature of their activity leads to counter-revolution because it is divorced from the masses of the people. No revolutionary group on paper or in reality will succeed if intentionally or unintentionally divorce themselves from the everyday activities of the proletarian working people. This enemy system are showing you who they are afraid of, who they're not afraid of. They're not arresting anarchists in droves, although anarchists are part of these leftist tendencies across the country. They are arresting revolutionaries who are building infrastructures in the community, a community garden, a house to house their brothers and sisters, food to feed their neighbor. When you do that kind of work, you become a threat. But if you just want to walk down the street, throw some rocks at the symbols of the enemy state, they will say, okay, well, we got a little bit of freedom of speech. That's not a problem. They're working within the confines of the Constitution. But the moment you step out of that and say, I'm going to build some material programs in the community that challenge welfare, that challenge the education system, that challenge the police in our community, which is really an occupation army. They're there not to protect you and I, but to protect the interests of the rich and powerful. So what I'm saying to you, brothers and sisters, revolutionary, socialist, communist, anarchist philosophy, we are all brothers and sisters. But for us communists, our line must lead. Our independence must be sacred from other groups. Our ideology must constantly sink roots with the masses of the people. If we could do those three things there, make sure we sink roots, one, with the people. Two, keep our ideology sacred, safe. And three, make sure our organization has the policy of self-determination. We will be on the road to really creating some space for the revolution in this country. But no, I wouldn't say anarchism by itself leads to counter-revolution, because I know some wonderful anarchists that I call brothers and sisters, that I call comrades. I would say the practice of the ideology inevitably run up against its limitations. That's it. It runs up against its own limitations. Because what kind of state you want to put in place, anarchists? What kind of state? You don't want
I do just want to point out here, though, that there is room in the UPM for anarchists that are focused on
after they have liberated themselves from the orbit of the imperialists. Well, how would they protect themselves when that capitalist man come talking about, we need more of your onions, we need more of your diamonds, we need more of your resources? The anarchists are saying, we don't want no state. The anarchists are saying, we don't need no armed force. So how can we tank, comrades, brothers and sisters, with the greatest bandit of all time if we don't learn revolutionary organization and revolutionary structure and revolutionary discipline to deal with this enemy? So if someone could point to a philosophy of resistance that the anarchists have engaged in since Kropotkin engaged in debates with Marx. If someone can name a state they have liberated, I would eat humble pie. So no, anarchism has its limitations, but it doesn't necessarily make someone a counter-revolutionary. All power to the people.
All power to the people. Yeah, I was just going to add to that there is definitely room in the UPM for anarchists that are interested in, like building material programs and being a force in the community. And you don't have to give up on anarchism to do that, as long as you align with the 10-point program, which I believe that anybody with a heart instinctively
All
aligns with
power
the
to the
10-point
people, brother.
program.
Anybody there?
Oh, what was that?
I guess we're having technical difficulties, brothers and sisters. Comrade Rob.
Yeah, does anybody hear me?
I can hear you both. I think
Oh, heavy
Shaka.
thought. Okay, all power to the people.
That was weird.
You can't
That
hear
was
you.
really.
Did the crowd hear me though?
I'm sure they did hear you loud and clear. I'm just not sure if Shaka can hear us.
We can't hear you, comrade.
I wonder why.
With that. That's weird.
Yeah.
And yeah, Rob and Rich say they can hear us. Okay. Yeah, that's strange.
Chairman Shaka's gone. I mean, he said he had to leave anyway. I see that Secretary of Education Shanti is here. If you want to, introduce yourself and give your input on what we were just talking about.
Yes, I'm here at the library, so don't mind the background noise. My name is Ashanti May. In case y'all don't know, I am the Secretary of Education for the United Panther Movement, and I'm also part of the Ministry of Education for the Chicago chapter of the New Era Young Lords. This is a really, really important discussion to have, especially right now with the current repression against students on college campuses. This is 1968 all over again, and we knew that this will be 1968 all over again. And it was a matter of time for it to get to this point, especially with what's happening right now at Columbia University in New York. Um, you know, like the thing with cointelpro was that it did not just start with the Black Panther Party. It goes far back, more far back than most people would think. Going back to, I think, the repression against the liberation struggles in Borinquen in Puerto Rico, and the repression against Don Pedro Albizu Campos. I think the anniversary of his death was yesterday, and his Puerto Rican Nationalist Party. So it was literally a foundation for the neutralization of political dissent against the system. Um, and the Freedom of Information Act of 1976 was basically the one act that exposed COINTELPRO to the general public, because no one knew that COINTELPRO was a thing until that act came out. And you see a lot of the tactics that they've used still in revolutionary circles, especially here in the Imperial Corps. Like snitch jacketing and stuff like that. Calling someone a pig, even though they probably may not. And the thing to keep in mind about that is that not every person who comes into, like rank and file or official cadre or, leadership are not automatically, informants and stuff like that. Sometimes you're gonna have people that, are just unprincipled, and it's normal. We all of us are can be unprincipled one time or another. It comes with it. But what becomes an issue when it becomes exacerbated to the point where there is disarray. And Mao actually talks about this a lot in Combat Liberalism, which a lot of people actually should read because it's a type of liberalism in the vanguard context. But the main thing with, this type of liberalism is that, liberalism across the board involves, like bourgeois ideology in the name of unprincipled peace. And that is a great opportunity for the real agents to come in and make their move and destroy the organization from the inside out, which we saw with the Black Panther Party, with Afrikan, and the American Indian movement and other revolutionary fronts of the 60s, 70s, 80s, and what have you. So you know more young people today are especially um, learning more about this hidden history, um, with Morningside Park, with Columbia University, with Lincoln Park, with DePaul University, where I am. There has been recent uptick in repression against um, student political organizations here on campus, with the security guards taking down fires and saying that, we are breaking the rules, even though we're literally doing legal stuff by getting the message out there, our right to, free speech, right? But once again, the institutions don't care about that. And so, they're closely tied with the real agents in this system, to repress young people and to hide this kind of history from young people, which, they're living, breathing photos, videos, documents. But, you know, we're not going to allow the mistakes of 1968 to repeat themselves again, because it's a whole different world now. We have AI now and so many technological advancements that the system is using against us that we do not have any control over. But this system is using it against us to murder us, to neutralize whatever political dissent we are causing, and rightfully so. With Columbia University, they're using, a new African fascist mayor, an Arab president. Of the university, and a Boricua commissioner of the NYPD, who are closely linked with Israeli forces. I mean, a new African, an Arab woman, and a Boricua man literally acting in the interest of the state, and having no shame about it. I mean, how false, how violent is that? And once again, they rely heavily on young people being ignorant about their political consciousness and their revolutionary history, so that the system can have um, so that the system can keep itself up. um, and so it's so important to understand um, the tactics in which cointelpro relies on to affirm its dominance, like snitch jacketing and agent provocateurs, um, Ward Churchill has, I think, 2, 3 amazing books, with COINTELPRO documents to the brim on the tactics that they've used to neutralize the American Indian movement and the Black Panther Party. And people still want to act like, that black and brown people, that black and red people are, not in arms with each other. They never have and never will, and it doesn't exist. But if they actually look at this history, then they will see the complete opposite. But they're so hell bent on ensuring that they're that black folks are just by themselves and everyone else is just a waste of space for us, and no one has ever been there for us. That is also what the agents rely on to create division, because you have cultural nationalist elements, and you have the politically conscious vanguard elements, where if those contradictions are not being resolved, and they're not actually doing the work themselves to actually educate themselves about the shared history that we have with Native people, with Irish people, with Scottish people, with Brittonic, Celtic people, Filipinos, the Chinese, and other oppressed, dispossessed groups under this global capitalist imperialist system, then they are going to attract the the system's entities, because that's what they rely on in order to keep us disunited, to make so-called white people even more disconnected from their political destiny, from their revolutionary potential, and just feeding into the system's ways of division and discontent with the oppressed masses. So, as a young person, and being fully aware of what the system is capable of, given that I was born and raised in the height of the Bush Jr. era. So I do know what the system is capable of, and all young people, especially on college campuses here in the U.S. and even Canada, should be aware, um, and work accordingly with what the system has in store, especially with the growing tail of fascism, making its move here.
All power. Well said.
Right? All power.
All power.
Um, I don't know. I mean, I don't really have anything else to discuss pertaining to COINTELPRO. So, I mean, I guess we can just do our usual plugging the things for the next week and wrap this up. But I guess I'll go first by saying next week we are going to have a current event stream. There's a few big topics we're going to start talking about, including transgenocide, the election, um, the occupations that have started at universities around the U.S. Pertaining to Palestinian liberation. There's a lot going on, so we have a lot to talk about next week, and I hope that everybody will join us again. Shanti, since you're the Secretary of Education, if you want to talk about the book club or whatever else the education committee has
Oh,
going on.
yes. Yes. Okay. So, in case you have been living under a rock and haven't been checking out my page, we started our new book for the Asada Olugbala Shakur book club 2 weeks ago. The book is Noel Ignatiev's How the Irish Became White. So, I mean, if you're of Irish descent, if you're of Scottish descent, if you're of Welsh descent, Southern Italian, Jewish, Pole, German, if you're ethnically and politically not Anglo or so called white, or basically so called English in this context of the US, then definitely join for this one. This book is about the history of arbitrary assimilation and cultural genocide of the um, Irish, Gaelic, Celtic immigrants that came here to what is now the Anglo-Saxon United States Empire. Um, Assimilating in the name of gaining acceptance from their Anglo oppressors back home and here, and engaging in the exact same forms of oppression against new Africans, against the Vietnamese, against Filipinos, against Chicanos, etc. Even though Chicanos also share political solidarity with the Irish, like with the I think the war for Mexican independence. The Irish were there the entire time, so it's about um, really talking about whiteness, how barbaric whiteness is, and how much harm and destruction has been caused due to non-Anglo Celtic people assimilating just to gain acceptance and a space in Anglo American society. So, if once again, if you're ethnically and politically not Anglo-Saxon, definitely join. This is especially perfect because I'm also of Irish heritage, and this book is dear to my heart because of the shared bond that we have as new Africans, of people of African descent, and like the non-Anglo Europeans, including the Irish in this case. We are both Black people. The Irish and other Celtics are the Blacks of Europe, literally, and new Africans are also the Black people, racially and politically, of the US. So we have a long shared bond of history that goes back at least millennia. And in terms of our shared solidarity, at least since like around 1619. And even before then, if you count the Caribbean as well. We cannot forget about the Caribbean as well, because there are shared bond of solidarity with African peoples and Irish people in the Caribbean before this set of African people came to what is now the U.S. in 1619. So, a very, very amazing book. If you're politically and ethnically not Anglo-Saxon, this is definitely the book for you. We are going to be reading chapter 3 on the substantiation of the Irish Revolutionary. So I'm really looking forward to it. And join us.
All power. I asked Richard in the comments, but he hasn't answered yet, so I'm going to ask you, Comrade Zen. Are there any upcoming write-on releases that you want to talk about or plug, or do you have any links to share to previous write-on articles?
I will have to grab the links in a moment and pop them in the comments. But yeah, there's a few articles that have come out in the last couple of weeks. There's one by Rob Paul that is on Aaron Bushnell and the sacrifice that he made in protest over the genocide happening in Gaza. There's another one about homelessness in St. Joseph, Missouri by Comrade Felix that we published a few weeks back. And there's another one on the deck that Rob Paul and I actually need to get together and put together the layout for. And as soon as we do that, that'll be kicked out as well. So I'll grab the links for Felix and Rob's articles and pop them in the comments shortly here. All power.
All plug, or all power, all plugged. I was typing back to Richard in the comments. All plugged.
We're just gonna leave that one alone. That could be too fun. Okay. Yeah. Gotta love the awkward.
Yeah, we're still masters of the awkward outros. So,
Yes.
I guess Comrade Richard said, "Hey, plug power."
Well,
Plug
I
power,
mean,
comrade. Plug power.
Robin the Rich said, "All plugged, comrades."
Whether it's plugged into the wall or is battery operated.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
all plugged, I guess.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, fucking
Alrighty
stupid.
then.
I guess I'm gonna start the music to make it less awkward.
Yeah, let's do that. Thank y'all for coming. We'll see y'all next time, okay?
Indeed. Have a good night,
All power.
everybody.
All power.
All power.
Didn't matter when they sold the devil guns. Didn't matter when they breed us drugs. Didn't matter when they stole your mother's sons. Now everyone's out of their mind. Too big for the rich and black.